Salutations, this is Grim Devel. Welcome back to our Let's Play of The Longing. Just like last episode, I'm starting this one immediately after recording the previous episode. We're going to inch forward a little here. We're going to wait till the Nightmare Doppelganger. I think that's good. We're going to wait here. And we're going to let the shade fall asleep. There's plenty of time. This is the beginning of the episode. We know that the doppelganger falls asleep after idling for 10 or so minutes, maybe 15. And now that we've read the book of our thoughts and seen the text that has to do with this event in our thoughts, because we've delved into our own thoughts in conscious loneliness, it's my understanding that now, when we try to do the exact same thing that we tried to do before, and try to fall asleep, it will be different, and we may gain a new ability. So even though we had the right idea before, we had this prerequisite of reading our journal, which it was a great revelation to know that the journal even existed, that it constantly updated with things that we had done and are continually doing in the game, because I had no idea about that. So, yeah, we're going to wait till Little Shade falls asleep here. And I have no prepared topics of conversation for today. The last two episodes I addressed requested topics for this episode. And I don't have those anymore. I'm out of those. So that is what it is. So I will say I'm recording this. Sorry, I got distracted. I'm recording this episode the day after Rosh Hashanah. It was Rosh Hashanah this morning, last night and today, but now that it's night again, it is the day after Rosh Hashanah, although some people observe the holiday for 2 days. So earlier today was a holiday for me. And it's a little weird spending the high holidays in quarantine. This was the first, high holiday service that we did virtually, which, I believe in a Judaism that does not believe. So there are a lot of Jews that believe that you shouldn't use electricity on Shabbat or on a holiday. I do not. I am not someone that believes that. I do use electricity. I just won't do vocational work on Saturday, on Shabbat, or on a holiday. So what that means is that's a very handy belief to have, or lack of that belief to have during the pandemic, because our synagogue is still able to have virtual services. And this was the first virtual service we had of Rosh Hashanah, which, if you don't know Rosh Hashanah, it's the kind of holiday that that you usually you dress up in a suit and get all nice, and it's you get together with people, and it's treated with a lot of reverence. It's not as solemn as Yom Kippur, which happens 10 days after Rosh Hashanah, but it has a solemnity to it combined with a joy. It's an interesting holiday. Rosh Hashanah means head of the year, or new year. Although it's interestingly, it's not technically the Jewish New Year. Somehow it got, throughout the ages, it got tied into the concept of a new year, and so we call it the New Year. But in the Bible, in Scripture, it's not called Rosh Hashanah. It's not called the New Year. The New Year actually begins the first month is the month of Nisan, the month that Passover is in, 2 weeks before Passover. And it's not like a special event, other than it just being every new month is kind of a special event. But it is still a scriptural holiday. It's just not called Rosh Hashanah. It's called in the Bible, in the Torah, it's called Yom Teruah, which means Day of the Trumpets. or the trumpet blasting. And what its original intent was in Scripture was not to observe the new year, as most Jews observe it today, and even I, even though I know it's not like the intent of the holiday as God described it, as God described us wanting to observe it, we still also celebrate this New Year aspect to it, because there's nothing wrong with doing that. But we also make sure that we observe, like, our eyes are closing, the main and the more important thing, what God says, and that it's supposed to be this Day of Trumpets, which the trumpet is basically meant to herald that Yom Kippur, which is the Day of Atonement, is happening in 10 days' time. So we blow these trumpets, and you have to imagine back in biblical era, you couldn't just like call someone up. Like, if you wanted to let the countryside know that something was happening, like the system that God says here is you take a shofar horn, like a ram's horn, and you blow it. You make a really loud noise with it, and that's how everyone knows that, oh, it's time. So the intent of the holiday is to basically say, warn everyone, Yom Kippur is coming in 10 days. And that's an important warning to have, because Yom Kippur is the Day of Atonement, and before the Day of Atonement, the idea is that you are supposed to, for however capable you are of doing this, you are supposed to repent of your wrongdoing. So if you've wronged someone in the previous year, you need to seek forgiveness from them before Yom Kippur. You need to be like, oh, I did that person wrong. I need to go to them and seek forgiveness and see what I can do to make restitution to them for the wrong that I did, and get forgiveness from them before this Day of Atonement. And that's an important part of this concept of being atoned. On the Day of Atonement, there's, the priest would make all these sacrifices for all of these, to clean. Oh, we're falling asleep. To clean all of the sin from us, all the different kinds of error and sin, which is what sin means. Sin just literally means error, really. And it requires it, to be atoned, to actually like be forgiven, to be washed of your sin. The atonement, the sacrifice itself is not enough. You have to have repented. You have to seek forgiveness. You have to make reparation. So that's kind of what this holiday season is about. And then after Yom Kippur is 6 days, I want to say, after that is Sukkot. And that's a fun holiday. These are all biblically mandated holidays, but Sukkot, we build these tents. We're commanded to build tents and live in or dwell in them for that period, for a week, for 8 days, really. And when we do that, remember the 40 years that our ancestors dwelled in tents after they left Egypt, after they fled Egypt, wandering in the desert before they got to Eretz Yisrael. So that's but that holiday is also kind of tied into the autumn harvest, and it's fun. Like, it's beautiful weather. It's like my favorite time of year. You are commanded to like build these tents and then basically hang out outside in them, and usually you just eat good food and play music and hang out with friends. But the reason I'm mentioning all this is it's so different, having to like socially distance and have this pandemic in this season, and it's definitely sad, because these are community holidays. These are things where even biblically you're supposed to like all go up to the same place together and dwell in holy convocation and do these things, and we just can't. So we make do with what we can do. And we had a lovely virtual service today, and took a walk around our neighborhood, but it's different out there, man. And it's also been a very inauspicious beginning to the Jewish New Year, because on Rosh Hashanah, as you have probably heard in the news, Ruth Bader Ginsburg died, and 400 days. How long is a day anyway? Do we know the answer to this question? Hold on. I'm looking at my notes to see if the face has given us anything. Because we have the clue what will happen after the 400 days. As long as there is time, there will always be longing, and once all longing is ended, the world will no longer need time, and those without longing will no longer need the world. I don't think... I'll have to wait to find out, I think. I think that's what we're going to go with. I'm trying to look at our clues, but I don't see any answers to this. We were told that beyond the cave there's light. Yeah, I'll have to wait to find out. But that was great. That was great. Something different. This is it. This is what we're supposed to do. All right, so I think we're going to get more of these prompts. I'll just have to wait for them. And I'm wondering, I think this process here, because of a hint that someone commented, this process itself might take about an hour. So I wonder if it's okay to just put in a cut. This is my 3rd episode, so I wasn't planning on recording more this week. But maybe I should. Maybe I should record another episode after this. And just have it be for the week after. Maybe. All right, so anyway, Ruth Bader Ginsburg died on Rosh Hashanah, which, as a progressive, that was not only extremely sad, because she was beloved, but also terrifying. I mean, I feel like even atheists were praying that Ruth Bader Ginsburg would not die before the next president, if there is going to be a next president, if the incumbent loses, takes office. And she what also makes it sad was she was trying so hard not to die for that very reason. She pretty much made that clear in her last wish. So the progressive world is sad and horrified and terrified, and that was how we began the new year. And then, and this is less global and more local here. I was, after our Rosh Hashanah service, my wife and I are in our basement, which is a finished basement. We hang out down there, and we just finished eating lunch, and all of a sudden we hear a noise from outside, and we think it's our next door neighbor, maybe doing something with the trash or something. But all of a sudden the noise gets louder, and we hear yelling, and we hear like this big commotion. It sounds like it's in our backyard. So I opened the little window, the like basement window that's kind of, high up. I opened that window, and I see 2 people. I see this woman. She's lying on the ground. She looks like she's just been pushed or something like that. She's lying on the ground, and I see a man. Both of them look like they're, kind of middle-aged. And the man is holding like a broom. And these people are right out of the shrubs, and they're like, the man is jabbing the shrubs with the broom. Like there's someone back there. There must be like a third party that he's fighting with. That he's like jabbing with this broom handle. Or maybe it was the top of the broom. I don't know, but he was jabbing someone. It seemed like these people were in the middle of a fight. I don't know if he was defending her or what was happening. But this is crazy because it was in her backyard, and they had clearly come through these shrubs, which are thick shrubs. Like, they would have had to really push and like get like pushed through like twigs and like heavy flora to get through these shrubs. It's not a place that you would just like walk through between our house and our neighbors. Like, it is thick shrubbery. And somehow they got through that, and he's jabbing back at it. And then all of a sudden, he starts backing up, and the woman starts getting up, and I see antlers, giant antlers, coming out, and they're attached to this big old buck, walking through the shrubs. And that's not uncommon. We get deer constantly in my neighborhood. They're always in our backyard. This is a big one. It's a big deer with big antlers, and I'm thinking, like, what is going on? Are they, like, is this deer mad? Is it rabid? Was it attacking them? What is happening? Why are they, like, what's going on? And I see the man kind of steps aside, and the woman starts getting up, and I see she's got something in her hand. And they let the deer starts walking through, and they let the deer walk through. And then, following behind the deer is this big dog. Looks like, I want to say probably a boxer, a big dog. And it is going after the deer. And I see the woman who's standing up. I think the woman fell in a gopher hole in our backyard. Not a gopher hole, what do I have back there? A groundhog hole. I think she was holding on to a leash. She starts getting up and she's holding on to a leash. And there they go. The deer heads into my backyard, like another neighbor to the back of us. The deer goes that way. The dog follows the deer, and the two people go after the dog. And then I see someone wearing pajama bottoms and a kippah, and I realize, oh, that's my next door neighbor. He somehow has gotten involved in this, and he's following after them. And I was, and my wife and I were like, should we go out and help? Like, we'll see what's going on. But like, by the time like we realized what was happening, like they were gone. If we had gone outside, I don't want to know where they had went. So apparently, so later in the day, later today, we saw our next door neighbor. They were getting ready to go to probably think their family for Rosh Hashanah, and my neighbor that had followed them told me what had happened. I guess the dog got loose. I think the dog saw the deer, somehow got loose from the leash, and the dog just started attacking the deer. And he said, like, if it wasn't like so sad, it would have been super impressive. Like, the dog would just keep attacking the deer's quarters, the legs, and like just hold it, latching on with his jaw. And every time because he was so close and and latching on, like the deer didn't really have any room to try to get the dog off with his antlers or anything like that. And every time the deer got some distance between them, the deer would try to use his antlers on the dog or buck it. The dog would just like get really low and dodge. And he said it was really impressive how the dog would just do that. But man, this dog was in for the kill. And apparently my neighbor said it was really sad. It seems like he didn't see how the deer was going to be able to survive. By the time, apparently the woman, like every time the woman tried to get close to the dog, she got really afraid of the buck, and afraid that the buck was gonna like attack her. So she had a lot of trouble getting to the dog to put the leash back on. And eventually she does finally get the leash back on, but at that point he said like the deer's legs were so bloody that he did, and it was just like lying on the ground. He didn't think the deer was going to survive, sadly. But yeah, he was like, so you'll probably find some deer blood in your backyard. So anyway, that event was also an ill omen for 5781, the Jewish New Year. It's an inauspicious beginning, I gotta say. That was my day. That's what happened. I don't know those other neighbors that had the dog, but next time I see them, I'll probably bring that up. Be like, hey, I think you tripped in a groundhog hole in my backyard. And so, I don't know how many of these little interactive questions we have to go through, but I think there's a series of them. And I hope I don't know if you can answer incorrectly, but I think I'm probably going to let this episode go on for about half an hour, which is about how long we let the last one go on for. And I wonder, I could probably exit out, come back next week, and it would probably pick back up where we left off, and we would probably continue just getting interactive questions. And that would probably be okay. I think this is what we have to do. Getting that one question was really hopeful. That was... that for me was like the light in the distance that gave us hope to be like, okay, we're on the right track. We can keep going on. We're doing this correctly. So if this episode's going to go on for another 8.5 minutes, boy, I don't know. Well, I need a drink, so hold on. Yeah, I don't know. Talked about the high holidays. Part of the high holidays is also that for Sukkot, the holiday that I mentioned earlier, where we build tents, you actually have to build these things, these tents, and because we've only had this house for a year and a half. Last year was the first year I actually got to build a sukkah or a tent myself. We bought the material, I think, from someone in the neighborhood, and I had no idea what I was doing. This year, I know what I'm doing a little bit more, but it's a lot of work to put it up. And I'm pretty sure, like, the way I did the roof, because the way you do the roof of a sukkah is supposed to be like open. Like, you put a roof on it, you put this material on it. It's called shchak, which is the most Jewish word you've ever heard, shchak, and it's basically just like loose straw or bamboo or something. But it's roofing, but it's open, like it has like visibility through it. It's partially open to the sky. If it was raining, water would come through. So that's how your roof is supposed to be. But to be able to lay shchak across a tent, you usually erect the walls, which are just canvas. You get some some foundation for it, like made out of wood or metal, and then you put canvas around that, which we have like kind of a kit for that, and canvas goes around it, and then you put the so it's like erect and rectangular. It's not like a camping tent. And then to be able to lay the shchak on top of it, all I had were these just like wooden boards of different shapes and sizes. Some were looked like 2x4s, some were smaller. So last year I just laid them. I didn't fix them to anything. I just literally laid them on the top of the metal rods that made the frame of the canvas, the metal frame, I guess. I just laid them on the top, but they're not long enough to go directly across the top. So I put them on the corners, and then once they're on the corners, then I could lay other boards that would connect to the other boards because they were close enough on the angles. And eventually I just made this really intricate design, none of it actually fixed to the frame, but just laying on top of it. And then I laid the shchak on top of that, and it somehow worked. And I was really impressed that it took me a really long time last year. After all that time, I got something that worked, but if a strong wind could just blow the whole thing over. But the shchak kind of weighs it down, and it also hangs over it. So I don't know if that's what you're supposed to do. I didn't grow up with that. I grew up with Reform Judaism, where, you know, we basically like observed Hanukkah, and we had a Passover Seder, and I think my dad fasted on Yom Kippur, and we go to some temple dinners now and then. That was it. That was my experience with Judaism. I didn't know Sukkot was a holiday at all. I knew really very little about it. It wasn't until I started taking my faith more seriously and actually read the Bible that I understood what these holidays were, what Sukkot was, and what a sukkah was, and what people did, how people observed it. So, and even when I started doing that, I lived in New York City in an apartment, and I was making noises in my room, in an apartment, and sorry, I just got a little freaked out because like I'm alone in my studio, and something's making like creaking noises, and it's weird. But I don't know what it is. I think my heater just kicked on. Yeah, my heater just kicked on, which is today's the first day also that it's been cold enough for my heater to kick on. You know, it's set. I've got like a smart thermostat so that like if it's above a certain temperature, the AC kicks on. If it's below a certain temperature, the heat kicks on. And the heat just kicked on, and it made noise. And I can, you know, like the first, if you have central heat, you know, like the first time in the year that your heat kicks on, like you get that smell, like all the dust that's built up since the last time the heat's been on. It's all like burning or something like that. I'm smelling that right now. Yeah, weird. Oh, strong kind of slight burning smell, but not like smoky burning, but you know what I mean, like an electric heat. It's not electric, but it's a gas heater, but you get that smell. It's probably burning dust in the it's probably actually burning dust in the boiler or whatever it is, in the heater machine. I don't know, the thing that has the pilot light. So anyway, I forgot what I was talking about. When I lived in New York City proper, we just had apartments, and we didn't have room. There's nowhere to erect a sukkah. So we would have like congregational Sukkot observances where like one of our congregants would be able to erect a sukkah, and we would all go over there and hang out in that. And that's how we observed the commandment to dwell in the sukkah. But now that we have a yard, we're able to do it ourselves. So that's pretty awesome. That's pretty exciting as a Jew to be able to observe this commandment the way it's supposed to be observed, and actually erect a sukkah ourselves and dwell in it. It's pretty fun. It's just really too bad that we can't really invite other people to hang out in it with us, because that's part of the fun. That's part of the holiday. So that is a shame. I'm surprised that we haven't gotten another interactive thing yet. In fact, I'm kind of thinking maybe we didn't actually have to read the book at all. Maybe the amount of time that we spend in this kind of just quiet, reflective, idle state, maybe it all adds up throughout the game. And it just so happened, like maybe it's accumulative. And it just so happened that when we got up here last and we started idling again and some time passed, it reached a threshold, an accumulative threshold. It's like, oh, now you're getting a prompt. It's possible that the book was unnecessary. Which would mean that the spoiler we got wasn't really a spoiler. Although it did kind of, this is part of it. It said like, oh, and then after you read the book, then you sit. But we had already tried the sitting. we had already tried this. It's possible that the only thing that we didn't do right was we didn't wait quite long enough. If we had waited longer, we might have gotten that prompt and then realized, oh, maybe we should be waiting long. Although, I might have given up. I might have been like, well, we got that prompt, but so what? Maybe that's just something weird that happens every once in a while. I wouldn't have thought, like, just keep doing it. Keep idling like this. Oh, whoa, you really fell asleep there. That was half an hour. I think that was 30 minutes exactly. He done. He gone. His eyes are closed. Well then. Do we continue idling? Or do I wake him up? Because I feel like if the goal of this is to get the ability to close our eyes, didn't we just close them? Did we get the ability? Or is there supposed to be more prompts? Well, I guess what I need to ask myself is, it's actually really late where I am, and I have to record at least one episode for something for tomorrow. So I'm wondering, do I record a fourth episode this week on the back of this one? Or do I just stop? Here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna look back at the not the spoiler actually, but the hint that I want to say Muskar left after someone gave the spoiler, which was just a hint regarding the spoiler. Let me find it. Let me find that. Yeah, Muskar left a hint and said, do a prompted multiple choice right. Do a prompted multiple choice right. I don't know if we did it right. Huh. Yeah, okay, so the spoiler that we were given said that the person he saw idled like we did, and after a while, rather than fall asleep, gained a new ability. But we fell asleep. I'm gonna hit the button. I think we did the multiple choice wrong. I think maybe we need to do it again and pick, but I have never seen the sun. I don't particularly want to go all the way, because it seems to take half an hour for this process. I don't want to go all the way to the Halls of Eternity and then spend an episode coming back here. So I think I am going to exit. I'm going to leave the game. I'm not going to record an episode right now, but I'm going to try to record another episode, a fourth episode this week for next week's publication, so that a lot of time doesn't pass. And then hopefully at the end of that episode, we can go to the Hall of Eternity. So, a day, maybe a couple of days might pass here. Hopefully that's okay. We learned something. I enjoyed playing with you today, and I'll see you next time. Bye, everybody.